Millions of years ago, our planet looked nothing like the world we know today. The Earth was wild, untamed, and unforgiving. Towering mountains pierced the skies, dense forests stretched endlessly into the horizon, and vast plains echoed with the footsteps of giant creatures. Every corner of nature was alive, dangerous, and unpredictable. There were no houses, no villages, no fire-lit cities, only wilderness. For early humans, this was not a place to admire. It was a place of constant struggle. A single mistake could mean death. A wrong step in the tall grass could bring them face to face with a predator far stronger, far faster, and far deadlier. And yet, this was the cradle of humanity. Here, fragile beings, smaller than beasts, weaker than predators, and slower than prey, learned how to survive. With nothing but sharp instincts, simple tools, and sheer determination, they carved their place into the heart of nature. Food was the center of existence. It was not guaranteed. Every sunrise began a question: would today bring nourishment or hunger? There were no markets, no farms, no storage. If they did not hunt, they starved. If they could not gather, they weakened. And the predators that shared their land had no mercy. Imagine the silence of the prehistoric dawn, the air heavy with mist, the cries of distant beasts echoing across the plains. Early humans, barefoot and cautious, moved quietly through the shadows of trees. Their eyes scanned for berries, roots, or perhaps a small animal. Every rustle, every snap of a twig could be the sound of opportunity or of danger. For them, survival was not just about finding food. It was about courage. It was about endurance. It was about learning the secrets of the land, which plants healed and which poisoned, which trails led to water and which to death. Every discovery was a step forward for humankind. This was the beginning of a long journey, the first steps of humanity in a world that demanded strength, intelligence, and unity. A journey where every sunrise was a test and every meal was a victory. And so begins the story of life millions of years ago, the story of struggle, hunger, and survival, the story of us. For early humans, every day began with the same question: where will we find food? Unlike today, there was no certainty, no storage, and no safety net. Hunger was a constant shadow, following them with every step. At sunrise, small groups of men and women would set out into the wilderness. The men often searched for small game, rabbits, lizards, or birds, while the women gathered berries, nuts, roots, and leaves. But nothing came easily. A single berry bush might be guarded by stinging insects. A rabbit hole could be empty after hours of waiting. Even water, the source of life, was sometimes miles away. Every meal demanded effort, patience, and risk. A successful hunt meant survival for the group, but failure meant an empty stomach. They had no bows, no arrows, only sharpened sticks and stones. To bring down an animal twice their size was not only dangerous, it was deadly. And while they hunted for food, they were also being hunted. Hidden in the tall grass, predators watched them: the great cats, the wolves, and other beasts of the prehistoric plains. One wrong move could turn hunter into prey. But survival taught them wisdom. They learned to move together, to share the burden of finding food, and to read the land like a book. A broken branch could mean an animal had passed. A patch of disturbed soil could reveal roots beneath. Slowly, day by day, they became masters of observation, turning the wild into their teacher. In this daily struggle, food was more than just nourishment, it was hope. Each piece of fruit gathered, each rabbit caught, each root dug from the soil was a triumph over nature itself. And so, the story of survival continued, one day at a time. For early humans, hunger was only one enemy. The world around them was filled with dangers that lurked in every shadow, every sound, every storm. The forest and plains were home to creatures far stronger than any human. Saber-toothed cats with teeth like daggers stalked silently through the tall grass. Packs of wolves hunted in the darkness, their glowing eyes waiting for a chance to strike. Enormous beasts, like giant mammoths and bison, could trample anything that crossed their path. Even a simple drink at the river's edge carried a deadly risk, because crocodiles and other predators lay in wait beneath the surface. And then there was nature itself. The climate was harsh and unforgiving. Burning heat in the day could turn to freezing cold at night. Storms rolled across the land with violent winds and heavy rain, forcing humans to take shelter wherever they could. Beneath rocks, in caves, or under makeshift coverings of leaves and branches. Fire was not yet fully mastered. Darkness meant vulnerability. The night belonged to predators, and humans had only each other for safety. Every flicker of movement in the shadows could mean death. But perhaps the greatest danger was uncertainty. Early humans never knew when disaster would strike, when food would vanish, when predators would appear, or when nature itself would test their limits. And yet they endured. Through fear, through pain, and through loss, they learned to adapt. Every threat forced them to grow stronger. Every challenge carved resilience into their souls. This world was not made for the weak. Survival was earned, day by day, step by step, heartbeat by heartbeat. In the midst of danger and endless struggle, something began to change. Early humans were not the strongest nor the fastest, but they possessed a gift no predator could match: the power of the mind. At first, they used only sticks and stones, clumsy and fragile. But soon they learned to shape those stones into sharp edges, tools that could cut meat, crack bones, and dig roots from the ground. With each discovery, survival became just a little easier. Then came fire. At first, it was feared: lightning strikes igniting trees, flames consuming everything in their path. But when humans learned to capture it, fire became their greatest ally. It brought warmth in freezing nights, light in endless darkness, and protection against predators that once hunted them without mercy. Around the fire, humans gathered, shared food, told stories, and found safety. But the most powerful change of all was unity. Alone, a human was weak. Together, they became strong. They learned to hunt in groups, to share what they gathered, and to protect one another from the dangers of the wild. Teamwork was not just survival, it was the beginning of society. These small sparks of progress, stone tools, fire, and cooperation, were the first steps toward a new kind of future. A future where humans would not only survive but begin to rise. As humans survived each challenge, something even greater began to emerge: the power to communicate. At first, it was only gestures and simple sounds: a warning cry for danger, a signal for food, a call to gather. But slowly, these sounds grew into patterns, and patterns became the earliest form of language. With language, humans could share knowledge, plan hunts, and teach the young. What one person learned no longer died with them. It became a gift passed on to the next generation. Around the fire, these early humans began to share more than just food. They shared ideas. They painted the walls of caves with stories of their lives, hunts, animals, and dreams of the unknown. These simple marks were not just art, but the first signs of culture. They began to bury their dead with care, leaving offerings of food and tools, evidence of respect, memory, and perhaps even belief in something beyond life. This was the dawn of spirituality, the seed of rituals that would one day become religions. Step by step, the fragile beings who once wandered helplessly through forests were transforming. With tools, fire, teamwork, and language, they were becoming something new, something far greater than any beast of the wild. They were becoming human. And this journey, born in hunger, carved by danger, guided by discovery, was only the beginning of the story of mankind. From the shadows of prehistory to the dawn of civilization, the story of humanity has always been a story of survival. Millions of years ago, our ancestors were fragile wanderers in a world ruled by beasts and storms. They had no weapons of steel, no cities of stone, no written words. And yet, with courage and determination, they endured. They learned to make tools from stone. They mastered fire. They discovered the strength of unity and the power of language. Each step forward carried them away from fear and closer to becoming the humans we are today. Every bite of food they gathered, every shelter they built, every challenge they overcame was not just survival. It was progress. And through that struggle, the human spirit was forged. We are here today because they refused to give up. We stand in cities of glass and steel because they once stood barefoot in the wilderness. We carry technology in our hands because they once carried fire in their hearts. This is the legacy of survival. This is the story of us all. A narrator's slow pause, and it began millions of years ago.